This podcast is brought to you by CATV, building community in the Upper Valley through media.
All right, welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of Going the Dismas. My name is Jeff Backus. I am now the Director of Development for all of Dismas. I have with me former resident Seth Osgood and our volunteer Celia Chen. The whole premise behind what we're trying to do here is the cornerstone of the Dismas operation is the community dinners, where volunteers come in, spend time with the members of the house who are exiting incarceration and reconciling with the community. And it's just a whole normalizing process. And we have a lot of good story sharing, conversation at the dinner table. And I'm trying to replicate this on a much smaller scale. I'm going to turn over to Seth now to introduce himself, get a little bit of background information.
I'm Seth Osgood, and I've been lied to because Jeff said he was unprepared, but his intro was way beyond what I thought was going to happen. I was a resident RA at Dismas for 2 years and maybe a couple months. Yeah, that's my association with Dismas.
I'm Celia Chen, and I am a neighbor of Dismas because I pass the house every single day on my way into work and back home again. I have been cooking at Dismas, almost since the beginning, since when it opened, and really have loved it.
Yeah, and part of the reason I put you two together is because both you talk a lot, both of you. And Seth was very clear that he wasn't a fan of every volunteer that came through the door, but Celia was definitely one of them.
He would never admit that right now.
Oh, he would.
I totally would.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no money involved, so here we go. Well, who's a fan of everyone anyways?
Sure, I mean.
Well, that's because I cooked with someone who makes really good food, Nancy. Nancy and I are the team that brings desserts now. Oh, maybe you were doing the desserts because you were baking then.
Who knows? I had a lot of time on my hands, that's for sure.
Oh, but you remember how the pies that you made were amazing. I didn't even realize that you were this really good chef. But can I tell my story about meeting Seth?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that I was a favorite, but I was so afraid of Seth.
He can be scary.
He was scary. He was definitely scary. I was cooking, and I wasn't even sure how to come to the Dismas house and have dinner with folks. Well, I'm a talker, so I can talk to a lot of people, but it was kind of scary at first. And then there was Seth, and you were kind of mad then. Yeah, you were kind of angry, and I was not sure what we could say. Was he going to bite our heads off? No, but then, of course, Seth became Nancy and my favorite, too, because now we always ask about Seth and we miss Seth. But at first, man, you scared the you-know-what out of me.
And I think that's common, though, because people don't know what they're walking into. I mean, that's part of what we're doing. People are coming in with the premise that I'm walking into a house full of criminals. So you don't know what to expect.
Which you kind of, you are.
I guess
you're very outnumbered,
true,
and
right?
The spidey senses are on, an 11 at that point.
I had actually never been to a prison before. Didn't really know anyone that had been in prison. After a few dinners, I wasn't afraid of Seth anymore. I realized that it's just like sitting with a bunch of friends, anywhere, right? And that's the thing I think. That we all get because we go and have dinner and learn a lot of really cool stuff. And I think there's a bit of a threshold over which you have to overcome. But it was a good introduction to it all with Seth there.
Right. Yeah, I probably was not that happy because, listen, people tried to give me antidepressants for anger.
Oh, God.
I've been misdiagnosed my entire life, so it's fine.
My God.
Yeah, I think that's probably common response for most of the volunteers that come in. It's also a good lesson in empathy, because now you know how we feel about being there too, which is hard, man. It's hard for everybody, especially the fear of change that humans have is shocking, as every day is different than the day before, and they're fine with that change,
When you came to the house, did you feel like you wanted to be there or you didn't want to be there? I remember one of the residents I had dinner with, he kept saying things like, man, I'd rather be in prison than here. And I thought, wow, is that how people feel? Did you feel that way?
No. When I got out of jail or prison, whatever, I ended up going to a friend's house back in my own hometown. And about 2.5 weeks of that, I was about ready to try anything. That's basically how that came. I was just like, how much you want to bet this doesn't work? How much you want to bet? Just one day I'm sitting around, I'm like, I got to get out of here because this place is my problem. I mean, obviously I'm my problem, but I'm 49% the problem. 51% is my hometown. And just I was supposed to be released to Dismas or something, but there was, obviously I'm wicked easy to get along with when you have authority over me. I'm like, I'm going to make this as painless as possible for the both of us. So, yeah. And I was supposed to stay in jail until something happened. And I'm like, well, that's probably not going to work out because it says here in the paperwork that I can get out of here. So let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Why would I want to be here? It was bad enough to realize when I realized that I needed to go to jail because I can leave rehab. I mean, it wasn't a conscious decision at the time, but after a while, it was like, this kind of makes sense because I'm completely out of control. Yeah.
But then once you make that decision, and how do you decided to go to Dismas?
Well, no, I mean, my friends are great and all, I got myself into this situation, so I got to get myself out somehow. And, if there's some place where people are trying to give unconditionally, let's give that a try because I don't even know what that means at that point in my life. What does that mean? Nobody knows what that means because most of the people get there on conditions. You don't get there because you were unconditionally loved as a child. Like, people literally don't know what that means. I know what it means, but I'm still like, too damaged.
What would you say? We have a wide variety of personalities that come and live at the house. Is there a common denominator that comes to mind that you did have in common with others?
I mean, a little piece of here and there, there's a lot of abandonment issues and all this sort of thing. I mean, I think that's key for, that's got to be top of the list of common denominators, And then obviously outside of that births itself to a whole bunch of other stuff, pick your poison at that point because now you just have no way of dealing with things because you're young and you just are pissed. And, even, at 30, I was still young, I thought, and still pissed. I was still angsty. I still thought I was in high school, I guess. Who knows? But I would say that's it. And, obviously drugs are a huge issue now. So, yeah. But I mean, a lot of people don't even know they're using drugs to feel something. Or right. They're trying to numb the pain and get a nice little hug at the same time. It's a strange world, but having that, realization, it doesn't help either because, you grow up a certain way, you just have a void in you, and that's just the way it is.
So do you think that is a common denominator, is that how people grew up?
It's everything at that point.
Because I have to say that being a parent is one of the hardest things I have ever done.
Yeah, because you're trying.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I am.
See, there's people that are like, this is the hardest shit I've ever done, and they're just like smoking cigarettes, go upstairs. That's a human kennel up there. Get away from me.
I mean, I don't know. My parents were immigrants, so they came here and they didn't even speak the same language as other people.
How fortunate were they?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But I think, oh my God, I have had it so easy compared to my parents, right? They didn't even have their parents to help them at all. So when I've been parenting, I mean, it's hard not to make mistakes when you're parenting. So I can imagine that could be a common thing because it's easy to mess up as a parent.
Yeah.
And then some of the families, I'm sure, don't have resources to fix things when things mess up, all that kind of stuff. So I could imagine that the family that you are raised in definitely has a lot of impact because it's kind of hard.
Yeah, I would think there's at least some level of trauma or difficulty in almost everyone's past and manifest in many ways.
Everyone. Not just people that, come out of the correctional system, Sure. I mean, everyone. One thing I've been struck by is when I've chatted with some of the residents, how many of them had been in foster care.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of doing that, yeah. It doesn't help you out.
Yeah.
It creates a tide of things that are going to go off in your life that by the time you realize you've screwed yourself, you're too far gone. So, and then all of a sudden, you just can't stop beating yourself up. I mean, you can, but I'll tell you what. It takes a decade to learn how to live again the appropriate way to where you're not inflicting pain on yourself or, doing yourself every disservice you could possibly think of. It takes a minute. It's definitely not a 30-day quick fix. Good luck. No.
Was there a point where you just kind of got tired of it?
Well, I think I had just enough of my narcissistic self left to be like... This ain't cool, bro. Yeah, it was about to smolder out and just totally give in because, like, I tried being pathetic and shit, but it just didn't look good on me. Yeah, I mean, I think Celia met me for the first time, I'm pretty sure I wore a bathrobe day in and day out, and in no way thought I was Hugh Hefner. Yeah. I just wasn't taking a shower today because I'm not sure I want to be breathing right now. But, you know, that's all stuff that you have to deal with. Society is shocking. If you're going to do it all, you know, you got to do it all. And I feel like I've done quite a bit. Probably not getting my master's, but whatever. I'll get it, you know, from some Mexican university or something in the mail, whatever. I'll figure it out.
I do remember, like, there was this point, it was really gradual as we were cooking and having dinners with you that you were like just mad and we were afraid to talk to you. And then we all just got really comfortable around the table and talking. And I learned a lot, right? Because that's the only way that I learn about anything is from talking to folks. But then also I felt like you were going through a physical transformation too. It was almost as like, I don't know if you were working out or what, but you were looking healthier as time went on. And that was something I noticed. And I don't know, I mean, which comes first, sort of the mental space and then the physical health? I mean, how does that work?
Oh, for me, it's definitely my mental health is always on the fringe. And then I'm like, insert serenity prayer here. Okay, move on.
But I mean, then you started to, like, I feel like you lost weight.
I think
you
if things are
to,
actually working, they do it symbiotically or something. Or they do it in conjunction with one another. They just kind of work themselves out. Yeah, I knew that I wasn't physically in the best shape that I could be.
I've seen the old pictures when you first arrived.
Dude, I was testing an apple pie recipe. Yeah. Who the hell do you think was testing those? I remember you used to
just drop food off on my desk. You know, here's an Eggs Benedict.
Well, here's the thing, man. I don't really have this moderation button. So, you know, yeah. It's either all in or all out, you know. That's why it's like salad a lot of the time, but watch out for that half-gallon ice cream tonight because it's going down. I'm eating the whole thing.
I don't know if it's a addiction recovery thing, the amount of sweets we go through and ice cream. It's incredible.
Just pro-diabetes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing I noticed too, and you were saying, when do you realize that this isn't going to work, this strategy, is that it seems like, and you've said this to me, that the older residents seem to get that more.
I think at some point, each individual gets burnt out on it.
I mean, you would hope. Some people are just burnt out on getting burnt out. Some people can't overcome the monotony of life, I guess, or something, or
But also, the older ones have more physical ailments too, though, right?
And I think that's another reality check they're coming to.
Yeah.
I can't
I'm
do
like
this forever.
older, and I can tell everything is kind of going to hell in a handbasket, with just physical stuff.
That's right.
And so I wonder, like, when that starts to converge, like your body is not working anymore either.
And you have that moment of,
I was definitely ahead of the curve on that one. I knew it was going to kill me. Sometimes thinking back on it, I'm what? Woo! Ha! I made it. I'm like, and there's no way possible that Keith Richards is my grandfather, because I feel like he definitely is. It's got to be.
Were there moments before you went to prison that you did stuff and you came out the other end going you were amazed that you were alive? I mean, were there times
ever?
I
didn't think like that. I just never expected to die. I would be like, well, of course there's vomit on the floor and a bunch of towels because I drank a half gallon of $4 vodka and had a giant smack of heroin before that. So, of course it went sideways, but I'm good now. The thought didn't even cross my mind, to be honest. I was so out of my mind. And I've been enabled my entire life, so it wasn't even hard to act like me.
Yeah, so there's almost like a sense of invincibility, like, nothing's going to happen to you. I'll do all this stuff to my body.
Yeah, which I still have the same invincibility now, except for I know it's going to, end. That coming to terms with mortality is its own thing.
Is there anything you would say to yourself when you were at your worst? Advice to your younger self? You probably wouldn't have listened anyway. But.
I'm a trial and error type of guy. Like, I got this. No, I don't. But I'm going to try it again.
I think that's actually fairly common.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. And then, even if people are teaching you, like I hear a lot of kids today are like, oh, I want to do what my parents are doing. I'm like, really? Do you think they're happy? Well, what are the chances they're happy? What are the chances they might not regret?
I have kids who just are the opposite. They're like, no way am I going to do what my parents did.
Well, inevitably they are. Well, everybody thinks they're not, but if you're not Republican by 40, man, you better have a bunch of money in the bank. Yeah, and then you can talk all the, I don't know, the shocking reality of the world. It hits you at a certain point. And if you don't have your shit together by then, it's way too late and there's no turning back.
Well, there's probably quite an age range of people in the Department of Corrections, yeah? Like people who don't figure it out when they're older, even though they're...
I've had residents as old as 79.
When you've seen a 70-year-old dude sharpening toothbrushes to shank people, you know you're in the wrong place. If you think you belong there, you're going to have a rough ride to the end of the line.
I mean, I have never gone to a prison, but I mean, there are people in their late 70s and 80s in prison.
Oh, yeah. There's all kinds.
There's a whole unit. There's geriatric units.
These were people that might have come in when they were that old, having done something.
More times than not, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because they would have been out of state or whatever.
Yeah, we
if
had
they
that
were
one resident.
long.
He was 79 years old, did his first crime in his life that he got caught for at 77.
Genius.
Yeah. Robbed a store to impress a girl.
There was a guy that was like older. I've forgotten his name, but he was the oldest person I ever cooked for.
Yeah, I mean, his name's not important. We're trying to keep the PR up here, but...
But I just remember that he was older than most everyone else in the house. Yeah, I guess I had never really thought about that. We have seen mostly younger guys, but that was one kind of, well, actually, there's been a few others.
There's been a few olders. And
yeah.
Generally speaking, older residents are more stabilizing.
And they might not return as much, do you think?
I'd like to think so, yeah.
Another thing I learned was there's been quite a few residents that went through the high school, where my kids went to high school. And one of the guys, had been in our high school, but he was buying all those Monster drinks, like cases of them.
You went through a spurt of those.
I did, but I had to get on the 0-calorie ones, and now I don't drink them at all because they're evil.
Oh, and aren't they just like caffeinated drink? Is that what they're? They're energy drinks, right?
Yeah.
$4 a can cocaine.
I used to have the
basically.
orange cans, right? We had a whole trash barrel full of them in the
Orange ones,
closet.
yeah,
the
because I'm
orange
a
cans.
one-way guy. I don't experiment a lot.
There's different
There's
flavors.
definitely different flavors for some, but not for me.
And I'd never known that, you could sort of use that as it's a stimulant, right?
Sure.
So I guess but it was like they were buying cases and cases of it coming in.
Addictive personalities find something they like and they hit it hard. I'm guilty of that myself at times.
Who wants to play with moderation? There ain't nothing in the Constitution that says anything about moderation here. I don't know. We're going to pave it all, so why does it matter?
I've never had one of those. And but to see those cases and cases of it coming through the door.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, this must be replacement for something.
Yeah. I do it on my camping trips. I mean, we go camping, can't have alcohol, so I get caffeine, and we have good time catching fish at 3 a.m.
I've learned a lot, but I still haven't gotten the whole thing down. So, from the get-go, when I start to, cook at the house, I can't get the vocabulary around it all. So almost every meal, if we ever get on the topic, I have to have it explained to me. So
yeah,
that's
throwing out
also,
acronyms and
Yeah, it's a system that, I don't really know. I still can't get and I want to know because, these are the lived experiences of some of the people that are living there, but it's a complicated system.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you all keep it straight.
They have to. It's in the paperwork.
No, it all works on paper.
So, Jeff, I want to know what you've thought about, how many years has it been that you've been director? Because I
started in March 2017 as the assistant, and I moved up fairly quickly. So it's been a little over 5 years, and we've had an incredible growth. I think the staff's energy and what they put into the house is reflected in how the house performs more times than not. I'm very proud of the product I've created, and now I'm moving up to the statewide level, and I hope we can keep this going, keep a great thing going here in Hartford.
Yeah, I hope you'll be there to coach the new director.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm still living one town over. I'll be by. Hartford's my little baby. I'll come by and check on him.
Because, when you first started, the evolution to now has been huge. I've been on this, what is it called? The outreach committee the whole time. The outreach has so much to do, like the newsletters and everything have so much to do with you. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. You set up a system. I don't read hardly any newsletter cover to cover, but I just read that newsletter cover to cover because it's like so compelling, and so, just teach the next person how to do all that stuff. You're an incredible writer, and so, or a speaker
Even
too.
my most recent storybook was just all resident stories written firsthand. That was powerful in itself.
But also that you shared your story too.
Yeah.
Did you read his newsletter?
No,
I don't think
you're not on
so.
my mailing list.
Yeah.
About my arrest when I was driving back from Claremont, leaving a bar, and I got pulled over. I was lighting a cigarette, went over the white fog line, got pulled over on that, and I blew under the legal limit, .078, just barely. Yeah. But they said, we think your levels are still rising. We're going to bring you in, give you the blood test. Okay. I'm already nervous. I'm traumatized every time I see a cop by me. It's true. It makes me so nervous.
I'm not fond of them either. But.
No. Yeah. I get to the hospital.
I don't need to talk to you, dude.
I get to the hospital, do the blood test, .077. My blood alcohol is going down.
Right.
And they said, well, there's a .03 margin of error in these things. We're going to charge you a DUI anyway.
Of course there is.
And I went through the whole court system. That was stressful just for me. I mean, I was
And weren't you already working in the Department of Corrections?
I was. And the officer that arrested me, I had trained him to be a correctional officer previously. He knew me. And then years later, he subsequently was arrested himself for falsifying evidence. But that could have put my life on a completely different path.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, so I really appreciated that you wrote the whole thing out. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you've told it to me at dinner one time, but to read the whole story was just really powerful. I was like, whoa, that close, right? And then to be working in the system
Right.
and knowing what that looks like on the other side. you
Right.
know?
I mean, that could have derailed my whole career.
I know. But that's where things so much are the luck of the draw, right? I mean,
Yeah, you're talking about fractions of blood alcohol levels that could put me in either direction.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, not to justify anything I did, I should have been driving anyway, but one more, if I left, half an hour earlier, I would have a DUI, probably would have done a little bit of jail time in New Hampshire where I didn't know anybody.
I mean, I'm sure that happens to some of the people that end up in Dismas, like some fraction, because, these
And
are
say
a lot
I do
of
end
DUIs.
up in jail. I could engage in a completely different lifestyle.
Right.
I make new friends there.
Yeah, it is scary. But that's when whenever I hear about somebody who's been falsely charged, and especially when some of these racial things, and African Americans you just think, oh my gosh, that particular cop, oh my gosh, that particular offense, and the whole rest of it just goes a certain way.
Yeah, and it
right?
shows that the evidence can be skewed to fit what they want to accomplish. I mean, that's not cover-all for every situation.
Yeah, well, anyway, I really appreciated that you had written that into that last newsletter with all the other stories. And for me, too, some of those folks are people that are not there anymore because I think some of the stories were from last year. But, so often we just come and we cook dinner and we hang out and we're laughing and talking, but we don't actually know anybody's story necessarily, right? I actually never knew what your story was until you did the video thing, the interview, because, of course, when you're there, you're just there and having dinner with friends. It's not like you need to know it or anything. But I think what for me is that, I've had dinner with some of these people. I've really been, I feel attached, and yet I don't really even know what got them to Dismas, right? And then reading them, honestly, I read those newsletters and I am in tears. Like it is so emotional reading it. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of the volunteers.
Yeah, you're probably desensitized at this point about sharing your story over and over again. I had a major moment of hesitation of sharing mine because I had this moment of pause and think, are people going to see me differently now?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they see you as
And
differently.
who cares? Because I'm not responsible for how they see this,
I think
Come on.
that's right. We
There
have
you-
to not worry about. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to have some of Seth's attitude, though, right? I
Whatever,
mean, who
folks.
the hell cares? I've gotten to be more that way because I'm old.
Right.
Like when I was younger, I was much more worried about that. But now, I'm an older woman, and I don't care,
Yeah, let the
and it gives
naysayers
you
say
more
whatever they
voice.
want. Yeah.
Right. It does give you voice more. Like I didn't have voice for many years because I was always kind of afraid to really speak my opinion.
Exactly.
And now. Nothing will shut me up. But yeah, I can't imagine people see you differently. But what I thought was after I read it was that, oh my gosh, you understand it so much better,
Sure.
because of your own personal experience. That was a very important experience in your life, and so that's why I really appreciated it.
And
But
I say I was nervous about sharing it, but like you said, that's an internal issue, how I feel about myself, really. And I think that's one of the things we accomplish, through the dinners, it's not so much changing how the community perceives us, which is part of it. It's helping people change how they perceive themselves.
Yes.
Not a criminal, not a drug addict,
So
whatever.
Right.
much.
The judgment thing is
Yes.
you're not in control of that. And if you're judging yourself poorly,
Yes.
you are in charge of that.
Definitely.
And that is not going to help you do a damn thing.
Right.
Now, with that being said, let's not get carried away here. You have to have a somewhat realistic sense of self, which in this day and age, I think is hard to come by also, but that's a whole nother conversation. Listen, people were judging before. Let them judge away. Yeah, I mean, if you think you weren't being judged by somebody somewhere, well, good for you.
Right. You can live in that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So, well, unfortunately, I think people want to project that they don't care, but absolutely inside, it's tearing them apart, which that struggle is something that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're, not being honest with yourself, because I'm a hard ass. And what's that gotten you? There's a lot of things you have to overcome, a lot of bad learned behaviors, But that makes me that much, more attractive as a human being when you finally realize that it's all bullshit, False personality, persona.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a comfort zone thing.
Right. But I can remember I did sit next to, there was someone who at the previous meal didn't even eat. And then the next time I ended up sitting next to him. I just started in, right? And I just wanted to know how he was. The meds that this person was on was making so they were eating too much, and they were having trouble controlling their weight. And I didn't know that. I took the previous week of 2 weeks in a row of not eating as, they just don't want to participate.
Insulting, yeah.
Well, like I'm not going to take this food. I was just kind of forget it. I'm not taking anything from you. And it wasn't that at all, right? I mean, I totally misread the whole thing, which I've done many times in my life. But, I just was just another perfect lesson, why did I even think that, right? But there's all stuff going on and we don't know.
Sure.
Seth trained me.
That's good.
That's the pinnacle training. That's the Navy SEAL version.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I do have a knack for shocking.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was kind of a lesson. Well, I suppose if Seth had not, kind of changed and so that we could talk to him, then I would still be afraid.
If I'm sitting to you right now dressed in jail attire, probably the opinion would be different, and rightfully so. But I mean, that's also another thing, to leave judgment at the door, once again, unconditionally, is hard because we are not trained to be that way. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but we're all a bunch of trained monkeys, some highly trained, some not trained at all.
I think you're absolutely right. In all domains of life, people, I think from the get-go, we're raised with judgment, right? No matter who we are.
As far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's true. And I have some opinions about some of my relatives, and my kids, man, they jump all over me because they say I'm judging them, and they're right, and I do that too.
But they're also youthful, and they're wrong about everything. High five.
I guess partly because I don't know all the people.
But you're not giving your free time and resources to something that you don't believe in. If you're going there to just judge people, that's gangster.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to give some money that I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to scowl at all you crime-ridden. Yeah. I mean, that would be next level, probably need medication type of thing.
Really?
Yeah. So, the volunteers don't, I think that's the big thing between residents and volunteers that no one really understands is that the volunteers are coming here out of the kindness of their heart, period. What do they gain from doing this? Especially in the initial phase.
Especially because we're cooking.
Right. Let's see if I can have the hell scared out of me today. Yeah. I think that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around not a lot of people, but the residents. Yeah. That sort of giving is not, it's foreign. It's, allegory of a cave. I don't know. This person must want some shit from me, so fuck them. Or somehow I'm going to owe them. I'm still paranoid, so I don't know.
You loosened up. Come on, at those meals. Yeah.
But for me, I don't even know. To be honest, a lot of it I can barely remember now because it's so in the rear view.
There was even an adjustment period for me just working in a jail previously. And coming into this environment, I didn't even know this whole nonprofit world existed. And I couldn't believe, people donate, people just show up to hang out with us. They talk to me without wanting something. It was completely foreign to me when I first started.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not normal.
Yeah, that's so interesting and the people that I know who come to Dismas, everyone is just there because they enjoy it. Well, the other part of it is that I think we all learn stuff from each other, right? And so
what's the common denominator? Everybody needs to eat.
Yeah, everyone needs to eat.
So it's the food that brings people together.
And we also like, when people like the stuff we cook. So that's so
super helpful.
I know. I think that's it too. Like I always leave when I have dinner and then go home. I just always feel like, wow, there's just so many things I learned from just hanging out, talking to people there. This is a different life experience, right? But mostly it's fun. Not everybody is fun there.
Well, no, but if you want to talk about having fun, probably a bunch of criminals can figure out how to have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a familiarity that grows.
Seth became one of our favorite people, and so then you kind of want to know where are these people? Have they gone off? And fortunately, I ran into them in the gas station. But we don't know where a lot of the other people have gone, and you're just hoping the best for them and wondering what happened. Well, sometimes I ask you, but you don't even necessarily know. So because they become people you care about.
I usually lose touch about a year after people leave, and then they're off in the world. But
yeah. I've seen
I think that's normal too. You're ready to move on and leave that part completely behind you also.
Right.
Seth keeps coming back for more. But,
we love that.
Whatever, right?
But that thing you said, Seth, about going back to your friends and your community, isn't it like a pretty understood, not so good thing for people to go back to their community?
No, because it's familiar.
Yeah.
You know where every road leads, so you can get around. So it's a navigation thing.
Yeah. But a lot of
you would think it would be logical, but I don't know. If I look around this world, not a lot of it makes sense to me. So I've got to be confused, and if I'm confused, I feel like there's got to be a few others.
Oh yeah, for sure. But in other words, it seems like the ones that do go home to their home it's more of a struggle.
Sure.
But
more times than not, yeah.
But some of them are from Hartford, and they're still in Hartford. So is that something that is like just by random chance they end up back in their town, or? No,
we do it deliberately. We try to bring people in that have positive supports existing in the community.
Okay, I see. So there's the positive supports.
I ask about that in the interview process, try to get an idea who they are.
Because sometimes if they go back to their community, all the negative stuff is there too.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So it's like a weighing of the pros and cons of familiarity.
Yep, and I've taken people from out of county because they need to get away from where they were from.
Yes. So that's sort of part of the evaluation of when you're interviewing people is whether they should go back to their community or not. Right?
Yeah.
It's ultimately their choice, though, right?
It is their choice.
Because anything else, I'm pretty sure, is kidnapping.
Probably. Yeah, that's so I see. I didn't really know how that worked. It's how you decide whether this person should go to Hartford or Rutland, right? Or if they're from Rutland. I met a couple people that have been from Rutland.
Yep.
And actually one of them recently said that they thought that they should stay in Hartford because they're from Rutland, right? And then all the bad stuff in Rutland for that person. The triggering stuff isn't the other place.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the convenience of it all, believe me, there's just as much sin anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just the convenience of it all.
Right, because
oh, Jesus, I have to work for this today?
Yeah.
I guess I won't.
Do you think it's easier to get jobs once you come out and your original home?
No, not necessarily. I mean, especially when you're at Dismas, you can identify as being part of Dismas, and that'll help you get a job.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is people will reach an extent of success while at Dismas with me, and then they get uncomfortable. I don't know if you've noticed this. Uncomfortable with their success and self-implode. They'll pull the trigger on themselves before anyone else can do it for them.
Well, I've seen a lot of people do that, yeah. I do that occasionally with my girlfriend when I feel like things aren't going right. I'm like, okay, I guess I just got to bounce. But then I'm like,
no.
I can't live without. Like, I don't even.
Why do you say that?
Well.
But you know what? I know what you mean. I have this really independent streak in me.
Right.
And so, like, if I get pissed off, I'm
Right.
like, I can do this by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And then I'm like, shit, I don't even know my Google password. I'm like, how am I going to pay my bills? I can't.
I know. I mean, or just stuff like, I don't really mean that, but why did I even say that? You know, it's hurtful. It's so
Right.
hurtful to the other person.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're all learning those lessons. It's just, yeah, no, I
Seth has said to me that one of the biggest takeaways from living at Dismas is that he never wants to live with anybody ever again.
Yeah. I learned that 100%. I'm like, you all a bunch of animals.
well, I have to say that is one of the more stressful aspects, even though it's helpful. But to live in a house where people are
Sure.
coming in and leaving and all different personalities
Yeah.
in close quarters like
It's
that.
like the real world's gone wrong.
That's
It's
true.
yeah.
Well, it's like a Navy SEAL training camp. 'Cause
Sure, I mean-
whoever has to do that? Nobody, right? It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it can go either direction, too. You can have people, good supports within the house, or it can be completely chaotic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it can switch back and forth very quickly.
Totally. And yeah, you're right. Because I remember there's been times where the community of the house is really cohesive.
Yeah.
Right.
And then other times, like, you know, people don't even really talk that much to each other. So
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of view that as part of my job is kind of create a sense of community, a sense of, home team pride.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
I can't always accomplish it, but I try.
Yeah, well, you've even said, like, at various times, there's, certain groups that are harder to work on that with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the 5 years I've been there, there's probably been 3 solid houses, and my current house is trending in the right direction to be fairly cohesive.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of bickering going on about, doing laundry too late or TV's too loud. And I'm trying to explain to everybody, this is as good as it gets. So,
Right.
And then you dealt with COVID.
Yeah.
So you were
bet you that was a
fortunately
good time.
gone.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and we would just be dropping food off. We never saw anybody. And
That was very
man,
isolating for us.
that
Yeah, it was just
awful.
me, staff and residents. And,
Yeah.
and I mean, you stick anybody in a house long enough, they're going to get on each other's nerves.
Yeah.
I had an amazing time.
You
I'm
did.
sure you did.
You
Yeah.
loved it. You loved it, right? Because
I'm
you
like,
didn't have to
huh.
talk to anybody.
Yeah. I was like, I was built for this.
I know.
I've been
Yeah.
training my whole life.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I did all those sit-ups for this when all I had to do was turn the key to the mailbox and get my money. I'm not pro-socialism, by the way. But it
No,
was
I think
pretty
for certain
fantastic.
kinds of personalities, COVID was great. My partner is that way. He doesn't really want to socialize with too many people, and it's fine. And it's been okay. For the house, which it's all built on.
Community
Community.
involvement. It's stabilizing to have other people involved because you have, people that are still finding their footing amongst each other constantly. It's nice to have the outside community come in and help and support.
Yeah. And the community felt it was really frustrating. We kept, and then once we were able to get vaccinated, that made a huge difference. But yeah, to be dropping food off, which is fine. We can do that.
we
but
ate, but the whole point is the interactions.
Totally. And plus, I don't think I ever got any of my casserole dishes and everything.
Oh, we have a
back
graveyard of
because
casserole dishes.
I
Yeah.
know, I
Pick one,
checked
replace
through
it.
it
Yeah.
because you left your stuff, and then whoever remembers to go back and get your stuff, so
Not several people.
yeah, there's a whole table full of stuff, but yeah,
funny.
it's hard enough when you are there to remember to take everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no.
Well, as we're wrapping things up, what would you say drew you? What interests you the most to make you volunteer at
To make me
Dismas?
volunteer. I was so happy to see the house look so nice. So I've been living on the hill there for like almost 20 years. So I passed the house, and the house before they came in and bought it and then refurbished the whole thing was a scary looking place. Oh my God. I mean,
It was an apartment building, wasn't it?
it was,
Yeah.
it was there was multiple people, I think, living there. Although one of the residents said that he had lived there before.
That's
but it
right.
was that
Yeah.
beautiful wraparound porch, right? It
Right.
was just all like a
Disheveled.
storage
Right.
area. The house wasn't even Oh, it was a dump.
So
it was a
looked like
dump.
Freddy Krueger's brother lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a dump, and it was scary looking. It kind of looked like a haunted house. And then suddenly it was redone, and it was so beautiful, and I was so happy to see that. And I also was one of the people that welcomed, Dismas to come into our community because
We met a high level of resistance.
Oh
yeah.
my God. I know, don't get me started, because I feel like it's that whole not in my backyard thing, It just gets me so mad, that people won't, take people who need, a community into their community. Anyway.
And the only difference is that who's living there. If that place didn't exist, they'd still be in the community living next to you.
Oh, and the people that did live there, I'm sure, had all kinds of stuff going on. It was a pretty
much
scary
worse
looking
than what's
place.
going on now, yeah.
Oh, by far. So I was like, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful, because you couldn't even see how beautiful that house was, before, because it looked like a haunted house. And then I just thought, I should find out what this is, right? Because I drive by it every day. But also, I always, I always do a couple volunteer things, what my other thing is conservation. So that's my other volunteer thing. But what I think really drew me was that this was a population that I didn't know anything about really, and I just wanted to find out more about it. And yeah, but it didn't take, getting past Seth's anger and stuff, cooking a few times. Yeah. And actually, even though I make fun of Seth about being so angry that whole time, we sort of knew, because he's funny, right? So
that's why he's here. Yeah.
I'm into people who are funny, that make me laugh. And so even though he was so pissed in the beginning, he was still making us laugh, which was great, right? Because he's witty. So it was okay. It balanced out the scary part of it, So it was okay. Yeah, but that it didn't take many meals to just feel like, wow, this is just such a, it's a cool place. It's
when did you start volunteering?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was not long, maybe months after it opened.
Oh, you were there from the beginning.
Yeah, because I drive by it all the time, So I was, and now it's sort of like now when I drive by, I honk and I wave.
Yeah.
And, I'm
How
always.
would you describe the growth of the house from 2014 to now?
Yeah. Oh, it's so much better. Of course, I feel more comfortable at it, but, Jeff, you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
And you have definitely been. So I've seen three, altogether 3 directors, and yeah, that's why I'm all bummed out about you. I'm not bummed out about your promotion. I'm happy about your promotion.
It's just the rest of it I don't care for.
Yeah, it's just, I just know how much your fit with the house has done for the house.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, Nancy would say the same thing. We both, yeah. So I think it's evolved hugely in the since you came on as director. And before it was fine. It was fine. I learned something even, from some of the other directors. But yeah, and I feel like, well, and also since there's now, just even like the outreach and getting like Nate. So, Nate's my technician in my lab is now one of the
council member.
He's a council member now. Yep. And he also is doing a lot of the tech outreach stuff, right?
He helps me a lot,
because those of us who are older, we don't know how to deal with tech. I can't figure out
I'm
my
40,
own phone.
I don't even know.
Yeah, my phone, I can't really operate my phone.
It took me almost a year to find the voicemail.
Yeah, exactly.
Not kidding.
And so Nate helps me with trying to get things on my phone.
I need Nate's number then.
Yeah, you do. He's great. But like getting younger people involved, getting.
I put a lot of effort and a lot of thought and effort into this in building my team of volunteers.
Yeah.
There's strengths all around me in the community that are much better at things than I could ever be.
Yeah.
And
but I think that all of those volunteers really appreciate what you have brought to it. And so I think that it feels really good right now, not COVID notwithstanding, but like there's things happening. People are excited about it. I hear more, about stuff from Nate, and yeah, so those are all great things. And I mean, of course, the core of it is whether the House members are doing better, which,
Well, I think energy is contagious, positive or negative.
yeah.
I think I try to project what I can. When I'm stressed, it's reflected in the house. When I'm upbeat and
Yeah.
being a whack job,
Absolutely
it's
is. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like, do you remember him being stressed ever?
No, he had a pretty stressless job at that point because you were
Yeah.
assistant, right?
that's right. Absolutely.
We were just
And he
happy to
left.
be here. Yeah.
He was assistant when you were still there?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, he left, and I was sitting on the back porch with a pile of cigarette ashes. It was sad.
Right. It's like, is this going to be my third cold shower today?
Yeah.
So sad.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So that was a good move on the council's part, or whoever made that decision. I'm not in the, in the council. I just want to cook meals and just be there,
Keep it simple.
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep it simple. That's the part I like.
There's
I
all
don't-
different ways to get involved. I mean,
Yeah. And outreach is fine. I mean, and actually 2 really good friends of mine are really involved, and that was totally unbeknownst to me when Barty and Rocky became involved.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were at the same, because we didn't cook the same nights, so some really good people that I know that are.
Yeah, and when I recruit volunteers, I more times than not have no idea who these people are, but I can feel their vibes, their energy,
Yeah,
and say, you should come hang out in the house. You should come get involved, and
Yeah,
it turns
yeah.
into something great.
Yeah, it is a vibe for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, for sure. I think, and immediately whether people are going to be like, hopefully you would never take anyone that seems judgmental in some way. That would be,
And
or
if I
things
do,
like
I'm
that.
going to try to change their mind.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Snap out of it.
yeah.
There's
Well,
a
it's
reason. There's a
definitely-
reason we're here.
Yeah, no, I think all of the organization, the newsletter, all those things are really good. And plus you ran, that last fundraiser we had was amazing, and that's when you ran it, and, all these good things. I felt like, from my vantage of just being someone who cooks, I feel like it's on a good, positive trajectory.
Yeah.
I hope it keeps going that way.
Oh, I still work for Dismas, so it's going to keep going that way.
That's good. Okay. And if it doesn't, we're going to be on. I now have your phone number, so I will
Yeah,
be texting.
Right. And it's also audio and soon to be on the internet, so there's no getting away from this commitment now. Yeah. So you're basically all in. That sucks.
That's right.
That's true.
Invested,
Now
yeah.
I really did make a commitment, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, they can cut all that out, when they do their editing.
No, we'll leave it. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here and participating. This is a lot of fun.
It was.
I think I'll do
Thank
it again
you.
shortly.
There you go.
Good times.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to CATV podcasts. If you found this episode interesting and would like to find more Upper Valley content at CATV, please visit our website at catv8.org. That is CATV8.org. You can find all of our podcasts under the Listen section on our homepage.